This episode contains adult themes and is not appropriate for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, the world. This is They Will Kill, a true crime podcast. And I'm Sadie Eck.
And I'm Courtney Eck.
And it's Courtney's night.
Yes. We're front loading this one because I have to go out of town for a week. And so here we are. That doesn't mean anything to you.
It'll come out at the same time as normal for you all. But
that's wild. It's like some time travel.
I know.
Ripping through time and space to deliver murder into your ears.
Y'all ready for this?
Well, I don't know if anyone's ready for this because this one is fucked up, you guys.
Mm-hmm.
This is called Burned Alive, the horrifying murder of Kimberly Antonakos.
Okay, bye-bye. That's what everybody's saying right now.
Yeah. No, thank you very much. So on March 1st, 1999, Tommy Antonakos received a call that his daughter Kimberly hadn't shown up for her shift at work that day. Kimberly was extremely responsible and not at all the type to no-show, no-call, and so Tommy immediately began to fear for the worst. He typically spoke to his daughter several times a day, and after calling her multiple times with no answer, Tommy went to the police to file a missing persons report. Kim's parents had divorced when she was young, and she and her father had a very close relationship. Tommy made a lot of money as a businessman and was extremely devoted to his daughter, and while he made sure Kim never wanted for anything, he also raised her with good values to make sure the material things didn't keep her from being a kind and intelligent individual. At the time of her disappearance, Kim was 20 years old and was studying at the College of Staten Island while she worked a part-time job.
She's a baby.
She's a tiny, beautiful, tiny little baby. Mm-hmm. She had recently asked her father if she could move to an apartment in Brooklyn near her friends, and he wasn't thrilled with the idea, but agreed to make her happy. They found an apartment with a nearby garage that he also rented for her for additional safety. Police started by questioning her friend, who was the last person to see her, and she reported that they'd had a girls' night out in Manhattan, where they'd had some drinks and done some dancing, and nothing strange or suspicious had occurred. Detectives also wondered if her disappearance could have been tied to a ransom, considering her father was wealthy, but no ransom letter or call ever came. Tommy did exactly what I would do if anyone I loved ever went missing, and he hit the streets to hang and hand out missing persons posters and question anyone he ran into about his missing daughter. He also posted a reward for any information that would help find her and was willing to give away anything he owned to have her returned safely. He went to search for clues in her apartment and found Kim's friend April's child, and her boyfriend Josh there when he arrived. The couple had been staying at Kim's apartment while theirs was refurnished, and they told Tommy she'd never come home after her night out in Manhattan. Josh and Tommy decided to check out the garage to see if there was any sign of her, and they found one of her earrings on the ground, which he turned over to detectives. Kim's friend, who'd gone out with her the night before, confirmed it was the same earring from the set she'd been wearing when they'd had their girls' night. After finding just one earring in the garage, detectives wondered if maybe she'd been followed into the garage and carjacked, which resulted in a struggle and her losing one earring.
So she's in an apartment? I know you just kind of described it, but a townhouse with a single garage?
Sorry, it's a garage across the street. So in New York, you don't usually get garages, but they found a garage across the street from her apartment. Yes.
That's to keep her safe.
Her car. Yes.
Oh, okay. Somehow. I heard those words, but they did not get into my brain. Okay.
It's atypical. Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Okay. So they went across the street to the garage, found an earring.
Precisely, on the ground.
Yep. Okay.
Detectives put all of their effort into finding her car, knowing full well that time was ticking and they needed to move quickly if there was any chance of her coming out of the ordeal alive. Tommy and Josh also began to drive around in an attempt to spot her car and spent hours looking in every conceivable place. That would also be me. I would just drive and drive and look and drive. Tommy cut $50 bills in half and handed them out to strangers, telling them he'd give them the other half if they were able to return with information about his daughter.
Wow.
I know. Clever, but maybe overly complicated. I don't know. Still, I would be like, yeah, whatever kind of scheme can I come up with to motivate people to help me find her? Yes.
Right.
3 days after Kim went missing, an abandoned house in Queens was reported to be on fire by a neighbor, and investigators were able to quickly determine that it had been set on fire on purpose. They specifically determined that the fire had started in the basement and were shocked by what they found when they descended the stairs to investigate further. Quote, "As soon as I started going down the stairs, it was a smell. It was burnt flesh, and it was absolutely revolting," said one detective.
No. You said 3 days after she went missing?
3 damn days.
Oh, no.
In the basement, they found the charred remains of a young woman, and it was very clear to detectives that she had been murdered in the fire. They found duct tape around her eyes and mouth, and it was clear that her hands had been tied behind her back and that she'd been in a sitting position when she died. Investigators and first responders were absolutely stunned by the discovery, and their worst fears came true when the medical examiner determined that the girl had been alive when the fire was set.
God. We all know how awful that is.
That's like, who ever would ever do that?
Really fucking sick person.
Yeah. Investigators' first instinct was that it had been a hate crime or a crime of passion, as it was unfathomable why someone could kill in such an inhumane and cruel way. Detectives sifted through the rubble of the home to look for any clues and came up with nothing, as it had all been destroyed. They also came up empty-handed when questioning the neighbors, as no one recalled seeing anyone go into the house recently. They did get a break in identifying the victim when they noticed that she had a tattoo of a red scorpion on her upper thigh, and so scoured the missing persons databases for anyone who had one that would match. They found a similar tattoo reported on a missing young woman from Brooklyn who'd gone missing 3 days prior, and that young woman was Kimberly Antonakos. Tommy was called in to identify whether or not the young woman was his daughter, and he confirmed that it was.
Ugh, I hate it.
It's just, I don't know, this case is a bummer. It's a big fucking bummer. Friends and loved ones report that Tommy died that day too. He was never the same after his daughter died, and was beyond devastated to learn the way she'd been so brutally murdered.
I cannot imagine.
No! God, no. 3 days in a basement by yourself, like with duct tape over your eyes and mouth.
Fuck no.
So Tommy informed her friend Josh of the horrifying news, and Josh reported that he'd called everyone in Kim's phone in the meantime and had what he thought was a promising lead. Everyone he'd called had answered or called back except for one person. Josh claimed that the person who hadn't followed up had been scaring Kim leading up to her disappearance and had developed a bit of an obsession with her. He'd been pursuing Kim, but she'd rejected his advances, and she said he could be quite violent, carried a gun all the time, and she thought he was in the Russian mob.
Oh my God. Okay. Ding, ding, ding.
I don't want to have anything to do with the Russian mob. Of all of the things that I have irrational fears of, it's like space, ocean, false imprisonment, anything to do with the Russian mob.
God, no. It's so scary.
His nickname was also Psycho.
Oh my God. How did she meet this guy? Do we know yet?
Friends,
okay.
Just through friends, yeah. I adopted a dog when I was 23, and he's a little Chihuahua Min Pin mix. And I went to pick him up, and the kid, like the teenager, I said, "Oh, you're here to get Psycho?" And I was like, "Oh, surely that's just this like juggalo kind of character, you know, he's looked like he loved Insane Clown Posse." I was like, that's just his funny nickname for this adorable sweet dog. It was the most accurate possible. And what, 13 years later? 13 years with Psycho, aka Laserbeam. His name became Laserbeam. He was pretty accurate.
Yeah, yeah.
I actually went to the ER from a bite from that little bastard.
You just couldn't get rid of each other.
No, God, I loved him so much, but he was the worst. So they brought Psycho in for questioning, and he was totally shocked to hear about Kim's murder. He thought they'd brought him in because he wouldn't stop calling her, and was adamant he didn't have anything to do with her death. Detectives believed he was telling the truth, and were actually able to clear him, despite having such a clear motive to hurt Kim.
Wow.
I know.
Are we circling back around to him?
Sometimes,
You don't have to tell me.
sometimes the nickname does not match the man.
Or you just get lucky this time.
Yeah.
Fucking Psycho. No, I'm kidding.
Seriously. Or
Sorry, buddy, if you're innocent.
the man or the min pin. Yeah.
Right?
Tommy and Josh continued their hunt for Kim's car, determined to find who had done what they'd done to Kim, and hoping if they found her vehicle, it would point them in the right direction.
And so Josh is the guy that was staying there with his wife
Correct.
and baby, right?
Yes,
Okay.
that's exactly right. They didn't have to wait long, as 5 days after Kim's body was found, her car was also located 14 miles away from the crime scene in Long Island. When they searched the car, they found her other earring in the trunk, which led them to believe that she'd been attacked in her garage and then kidnapped in the trunk of her own car. Other than that one small clue, the car was wiped clean of fingerprints, and no witnesses had seen anyone interact with the car at all. And this is the 90s. Like, how do you have such a perfect crime in the 90s? You know what I mean?
Seriously, yes.
Tommy never gave up pushing and motivating people to help find his daughter's killer, and he never gave up the search for whoever had done such an awful thing to the most important person in his life. Then one day out of the blue, police received an anonymous tip that someone had heard 3 men speaking on a street corner, and they specifically overheard them mention having kidnapped a girl and that it went bad, so they had to kill her.
Oh, no.
The caller...
That's not casual street conversation.
I'm like, where are they having... I mean, it is Brooklyn.
No, but still.
In the 90s, so it was a rougher crowd, but...
You don't... That's
Yeah.
No.
We snatched her, and then guess what happened? Yeah. I don't buy that they just happened to walk by this conversation.
Right.
Whatever. Yes. Out walking your dog. The caller identified one of the men as Kim's friend Josh. Mm-hmm. The same Josh who had been relentlessly looking for her and her killer with Tommy the entire time she'd been missing. From the first day.
Gross.
The first fucking day. And one time, back in the day in Portland, my purse got stolen out of our office. And it was a upstairs sort of like converted attic office in this, apartment house thing. And one of my coworkers was like, "Oh my God, let me help you find it." And I later figured out that was the motherfucker who stole my purse. So if anybody is super, super duper extra helpful right out of the gate, they're probably the one who did it.
Yes.
But what a fucking piece of shit.
God, that's so awful.
Yeah. Yep. Police brought Josh in for questioning, and he was also adamant that he hadn't had anything to do with her murder and that she was like a sister to him. He cared for her so deeply. At one point, a detective asked him if he'd done it, and Josh's response was, quote, "If I did it, I would have fed her."
Oh. That's fucking stupid.
Said the detective.
What a response.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, I'm such a good guy. I definitely would have fed her. But, of course, nobody had told him that Kim hadn't been fed.
Right. Or that she was alive for that long, or,
Exactly. He had no details. The only people who would have known that were the killer and the medical examiner.
Right.
So this very damning statement turned Josh into detectives' lead suspect, but wasn't enough to charge him with her murder, so they pressed harder to find any other evidence that would tie him to the crime. 6 months later, a woman nicknamed Blondie, who had previously dated Josh, came forward with information that would blow the case wide the fuck open.
Fuck yeah.
Blondie claimed Josh had told her that he and some friends had kidnapped Kim and held her for ransom and then burned her alive when the plan had fallen apart. Blondie also claimed that Josh was the mastermind behind the entire plan.
Of course he was.
There were 4 people involved with the kidnapping and murder, Josh Torres, Nick Libretti, and 2 other men, Jay and Jose. After the shocking statement from Blondie, Josh Torres and Nick Libretti were taken into custody, and Nick broke pretty quickly, telling police everything that had gone down since the moment Kim was kidnapped. He said Josh had the idea to take Kim for ransom, knowing her father was wealthy and would do anything for her. The plot was extra convenient because Josh was staying at Kim's apartment at the time, so had full access to the space and knew when she was coming and going. Josh told Nick and Jose to wait for her in the garage, and Jose grabbed her and covered her mouth when she emerged from the car. They then put her in the trunk of her own car, taped her hands, eyes, and legs, and brought her to the abandoned house. They carried her into the basement of the house, sat her in a chair, and tied her to it. While they taped her to the chair, Kim asked, quote, if they were going to mug her, why were they going to so much hassle? The poor dear, thinking she's just getting fucking mugged.
So sad.
They then taped her mouth and left her alone in the cold basement. So Josh had pre-recorded a ransom demand and called Tommy to play it after Kim was bound in the basement. Tragically, Josh wasn't aware that Tommy's answering machine had a pause in the greeting, so started by saying, "Hi, this is Tommy." And then there was a pause, and then he continued the recorded greeting.
Fuck.
So Josh hit play after he heard, "Hi, this is Tommy."
Oh, no.
And then ransom demand never recorded on the machine because he played it over the rest of the greeting.
Oh, no.
The same mistake was made several times, and Tommy never fucking received the message.
Oh, God.
He would have given every last cent and possession he had to get his daughter back safely, but instead she remained bound and terrified in the cold basement in the dead of winter.
Oh, my God.
Isn't that just cruel, awful? Why? Like, what the fuck, universe? Why would that happen?
Seriously. Oh, my God.
He had everything he needed to get his daughter back safely. There was absolutely no reason that shouldn't have gone forward except for a pause in his fucking answering machine message.
Okay, everybody pause right now. Re-record your voicemail message. Do not let there be any pauses.
No, straight to the point. Hey, I'm not here. Leave a message.
Bye.
That's sufficient.
Yes.
So she wasn't fed, given water, or anything for warmth the entire time. When Tommy failed to respond to the ransom demands, the kidnappers returned to the basement with the intention of letting her go, but thought Kim was dead when they found her as she wasn't moving.
Oh, no.
So these little fuckers just left her down there, just tied her up, taped her up, and just left her down there for 3 days. Didn't check on her, didn't bring her any water, nothing.
Wow.
Just,
like, what?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Nothing. That is like 20-year-old dumbass boy shit right there. Like, they were just completely fucking irresponsible and had no sense of consequence.
And didn't really
whatsoever.
want her to die. It sounds like. I mean, they clearly didn't care that much because they didn't take care of her at all, but it doesn't sound like necessarily their intention was to kill her.
Not at all. They wanted the dad's money. He was rich, and they're like, "Oh, this would be cool. It would be so easy to just get the money."
What the fuck?
Ugh. Ransom shit freaks me out. Like, has it ever gone okay? Does anyone have any instance of ransoms? Just, here's the money, here's the person back, done and done.
Goodbye.
Like,
Yeah.
ever? You know?
Right.
So the group freaked out, and Josh made the call to burn the house down to conceal their crime. So they drove to the gas station, bought a can of gas, and then headed back to the house.
And check for a pulse. Like,
I mean, surely she started stirring or moving or something.
Oh,
you
man.
know? I'm not convinced that they
this
thought
is
she
the
was
truth.
dead.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe at the very first second, but then no. Or maybe she was like very ill. I don't know. But she was, I just am not convinced.
No.
Josh then went into the basement, poured gas over Kim's head and all around her, and lit her on fire.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And get this, at the end of his taped confession of having kidnapped and burned a young woman alive, Nick asked the detective if he could have a token for the subway to get home.
I'm sorry. What world do these people live in?
I'm so glad I got that off my chest. Okay, but can you help me get home? Thanks, detective.
Did they... What? Really?
Yeah.
He just thought they were going to let him go home.
Yes. Yep. He's like, it was Josh's idea. I just helped him do it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I didn't actually burn her up. I didn't do anything to stop it, but
wow.
He's the one that lit the match, so
wow.
Yes. And that's what I mean. These kids are just fucking stupid. They're just kids.
Clearly.
Being fucking... Well, Josh, I think, is a lot smarter because he had the foresight to, like, frame somebody else and, you know, there's more and more. But the other kids are just fucking kids. Keep your children away from the sociopath, empath, apath triangle.
Seriously, at all costs.
At all costs. It is very strong. It's, like, stronger than the Bermuda Triangle.
Seriously, that is strong.
Is that still a thing?
Well, I just heard... I mean, this is going to be a little bit of a quick tangent, but
yeah.
Have you heard about... There was a boat that went missing with 20 people on it?
No!
Oh, man, Courtney, go look it up. It's crazy. So, I don't know, like in January or sometime in the winter, I think. Don't quote me on that. A boat went missing. There was 20 people on it, including children. And the boat just vanished. And then months later, just very recently, the boat showed up and all 20 people were dead on it. I can't believe you ever heard about it. Yes.
What?
Bermuda Triangle.
No. I need to know everything. Sorry, guys. I'm not going to finish the story because I need to fucking very quickly change lanes and learn about this boat.
Yeah, well, we can finish the story. And
yeah,
I don't know. I think because it just very recently happened. I haven't heard anything recent, like in the last few days, but all that was in the news was the boat showed up and they were dead. And I haven't heard a cause of death. If they've released it, nobody's told me.
They haven't called you.
No.
They should know better. You need to be kept abreast of any changes in the case.
Right. Yes.
Holy
that just
shit,
happened.
that's so spooky, terrifying.
So scary. 20 people.
Well, fuck. All right, let's wrap this shit up. Just kidding. I'm tell this story very respectfully, but just blew my mind. So yeah, I'm glad the Bermuda Triangle still exists.
It's still strong. Yep.
But it is not as strong as the sociopath, apath, empath triangle.
Right.
Nothing is. So after Nick's grisly confession, police brought Josh in for questioning, and he denied everything and said that he could never ever do something like that to his friend. Detectives made the call to bluff and claimed that they had hard evidence against him to get him to slip up, and claimed the gas station where he purchased the gas caught him on CCTV. There was no tape, but it was convincing enough that Josh fessed up to having bought gas on the night of the murder, but continued to deny any involvement in the kidnapping and murder.
Mm-hmm. This seems like a really good time. If Josh had just called his lawyer or asked for a lawyer.
Well.
Probably. Okay. Sorry.
Yep. Perfect timing. Detectives felt that Josh was very close to cracking and giving a confession at one point, but a lawyer called right as he was on the verge and demanded they stop the questioning.
Yeah, there you go. Mm-hmm. Not that I want him to get away with it, but that's how you're going to get away with it.
Absolutely. Especially when the cops start saying, oh, we've got you on tape. Lawyer, please. Luckily, police had enough evidence at that point to charge Josh and Nick with robbery, kidnapping, arson, and murder. Unfortunately, the prosecution wasn't able to use Nick's confession in court against Josh, as the New York law prohibits using the statement of a co-conspirator against the other. Which, why? Does anybody know why that would be the law? Do we have any New York State attorneys? Yeah, really though?
Yeah. What was that case? State Fair one.
Uh-huh.
The guy, the one, like they couldn't use the confession of one person in the other guy's trial because it's hearsay. I think if you don't have any evidence to prove what somebody says about you, you can't just go off of a confession alone.
Well, further down in this case, you're going to hear another person testify against somebody, which would seem, we can talk about it more then, but I don't know why this future person is able to testify against Josh and Nick is not.
But you said it was a law in New York?
Yeah, for co-conspirators.
Just like all around.
Yeah, co-conspirators cannot testify. They can't use that confession against their co-conspirator.
Maybe it would just be too easy to try to pin it on somebody else.
Right, I'm sure that's what it is.
You know, like, so it doesn't, who knows?
To get a plea deal.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll talk about more in a minute. But I still think it's strange. To make matters worse, Blondie was arrested for smuggling drugs while the case waited to go to court, making her a much less credible witness.
Damn.
They decided to go to court without her, and that, paired with the lack of hard evidence, put the case in serious jeopardy. At trial, Josh presented as someone who was, quote, clearly convinced he was going to walk out of the courtroom a free man. One thing that boosted Josh's confidence was thinking he'd passed a polygraph early in the investigation, and his defense team brought it up at trial to boost their case, which completely backfired. Josh had actually failed the test, and the prosecution was happy to have the opportunity to present that fact.
Whoops. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Defense was like, is it true that Josh took a polygraph? Yeah, I fucking failed it. Thanks for asking. Tommy then took the stand, and people who attended the trial said his testimony was absolutely heart-wrenching as he, quote, brought Kim alive for everyone attending the trial, and he did so through a steady stream of tears.
I can't even.
No. He also testified that Josh had claimed to have called everyone in Kim's phone book and that Psycho was the only person who hadn't answered or called back. But Kim's phone records showed that he hadn't made a single call he claimed to have made.
That jerk.
Doesn't make the calls. My God.
Seriously. Don't
make up an elaborate frame job without the
that
frame.
can be checked.
Yeah.
Easily checked.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he didn't know because it was very early cell phone. So maybe
yeah,
he
but
didn't.
still, just
I
call.
know. Just call. Because they'll ask the people too. Did
Right.
Josh call you this day after she went missing? Whatever. That evidence was helpful but wasn't nearly enough to convict Josh of murder. But then the prosecution brought in a surprise witness that changed the course of the entire trial. The witness was named Jay, and he was one of the individuals involved in the plot, and detectives said that Josh's entire demeanor changed the moment Jay walked into the courtroom. Jay had also come forward and confessed everything and agreed to testify in exchange for a reduced sentence. So here we are with Jay. And granted, Jay was only involved he was the getaway driver on the night of the murder. So maybe because he wasn't a co-conspirator in the actual murder, they can use his testimony.
Maybe. So he just drove that night, but he didn't
go into the
go
house.
back.
Right.
Yeah,
he
that
wasn't
could be
there.
it.
I'm assuming that's what it is, but it still doesn't entirely make sense. So I need all of my New York State attorneys to jump right on letting me know what the fuck is, like, the difference.
Right. Well, and also, why is he not culpable for her death? Like, having, like you kidnap somebody and you put him in a basement. And...
Well, I don't think he was there for the kidnapping. He was just the getaway driver the night of the murder. So they, well, we'll get to it, but, yeah,
okay. I had it backwards.
Yeah,
Okay.
It was Jose who was part of the kidnapping. He and Nick did the kidnapping. Anyway,
Okay.
Jay was not a part of that. So Jay had also come forward and confessed everything and agreed to testify in exchange for a reduced sentence. Jay's story was perfectly consistent with Nick's story and also backed up all of the evidence the prosecution had compiled. Jay said Josh had told him all about the kidnapping scheme and that he'd been the getaway driver on the night Josh burned Kim alive. Jay said that Josh told him that before he killed Kim, he kissed her and said, quote, "Life sucks," and lit her on fire.
Oh, no, he didn't.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Lock up your teenage boys, your young adult boys, because they cannot be trusted in the world.
Not for a second.
God. Anybody, all of them, females, males, non-binary people, just lock them up from like 16 to 40.
Minimum.
Minimum. Quote, according to Jay's testimony, Kimberly Antonakos died because Mr. Torres wanted money to buy an Infinity luxury car.
Stop it.
Yes,
At
a
least
fucking
it's-
infinity, too, of all the quote-unquote
God.
luxury cars. He planned to ask Mr. Antonakos for $75,000 in exchange for Kim's release.
That's not okay.
No. After Jay's testimony, Josh stunned the court by jumping up and screaming at the witness, which certainly didn't help his case.
Way to play it cool, you bozo.
Seriously. It's like every court movie ever, you try to rile up the accused.
Right.
And he just riled up his own self. At the conclusion of the trial, the jury deliberated for 10 hours and returned with a guilty verdict for arson, kidnapping, and the murder of Kimberly Antonakos.
Good.
The verdict was read on the day before what would have been Kim's 22nd birthday.
That is so sad.
No, it's so sad. At Josh's sentencing, he claimed that the DA had manipulated witnesses to gain public notoriety for the case and that none of it had been the truth.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, and see, I'm like, there's not any hard evidence. That's my problem with this case. I do think that Josh probably did it. It definitely seems like he did it. But there's no hard evidence. No DNA, no fingerprints, no footage, no testimony, only
Right.
like the testimony of the people who
Are involved.
are shady.
Supposedly.
Yeah. So it's also around the same time as Marty Tankliff's frame job he was in Long Island and this is in Brooklyn, but I don't know. I was like, oh, actually looked around to see if have been any developments. Like, okay, maybe I go through this whole thing and then ta-da, Josh Torres was actually innocent, but I don't think he's convincing enough to get the Innocence
Right.
Project on his side. But yeah, it did give me pause. I just have to say, I wouldn't put it past
Yeah.
the DA in Brooklyn,
It's
for
definitely
putting
surprising.
pressure on these witnesses to reduce their sentences and stuff.
They never found the recording, the ransom recording, or...
No. As far as I'm aware, there's no hard evidence.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I know.
But it sounds like he was pretty smart. Like you said, he was smart with a bunch of dodos.
Oh, he was definitely, yeah. Assuming he did it, which there's a very good chance that he did. He's definitely the mastermind. He's not fucking stupid. He was very smart and he knew exactly what he was doing. And he was super fucking cold-blooded and calculated, and then continued to be cold-blooded by buddying up with her poor father.
Right.
The moment, like this, he was right next to her the whole time, and he could have just turned his head and be like, I'll give you your daughter back for $1 million or what, It was right there. And he just was like, well. And Tommy would have mentioned the ransom, he never mentioned it. Like,
That's, yeah. And the person who initially put the police onto Josh, there wasn't really any motive that we know of for them to turn him in, right?
No, I don't know. I have no
It was like
idea,
an
but-
anonymous tip.
Yeah, well, the
right?
first person that called was the anonymous tip, and then Blondie, his ex-girlfriend, which is an ex-girlfriend who was also a drug smuggler,
Right.
was the second witness, and then the other witnesses were the people who were involved in the
Right.
crime, and one of them came forward to plea down to drastically reduce his sentence.
Yeah,
So-
I'm just thinking, like, that anonymous tip, there wouldn't be any reason that we know of to start this ball rolling. That person who did it, unless they hated Josh and just wanted to, like, get revenge. It
Right.
wasn't like a jailhouse informant or somebody
Right.
looking for a plea deal.
Or if the police department desperately and the DA desperately wanted to get this case solved because
They
it was
did
such
the
a
anonymous
devastating
tip.
case. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I know. I know.
Let's
And-
just pretend like he really did it.
Deal. No, but I had to bring that up because I was like, at the
Yeah,
timing,
no,
I
it's a
know
good-
that New York,
Yeah.
and again, it was Long Island where the cops were viciously corrupt in the 90s.
Right.
I can't say the same about the NYPD, but I don't think the NYPD has the best fucking reputation. So I just had to make that statement. And Josh, still adamantly, vehemently fucking denies that he had anything to do with it. So,
But then he said that fucked up shit about, but I would have fed her. Unless the cops also made that up.
right.
But that's too mean to, I don't know. It's such a shocking thing to
yeah.
make up.
Well,
Shit.
the cops pretended like Marty Tankliff's father was alive and was calling to say that Marty had done it. You know, just worse things have happened. So it's just not as like wrapped up nicely with a bow as I would like for it to be. So the judge said, quote, "What revolted me the most was the manner in which she was killed. Pouring gasoline over her head and around her, and the igniting of her by striking of the match. I must admit that hearing this testimony almost brought me to tears. What can be more inhumane and depraved than the act of burning someone alive?" Josh was given the maximum possible sentence of 58 years to life. Tommy said he thought the sentence was better than death and that Josh can suffer for the rest of his life. Which I agree. Would so much rather die than go to prison for the rest of my life.
Yep.
Nick Libretti also received the maximum sentence for his participation in the crimes and died in prison 2 years later.
Wow.
Yep. Jay pled guilty to criminal facilitation and spent 2 years in prison. And the fourth person, Jose, was murdered, I think in a robbery, but he died. So there's not a lot of information about him. I think he had died in the meantime. Yeah, he wasn't on trial. Tommy received no comfort from the outcome of the trial and was plagued by his daughter's death for the rest of his life. People who knew him said that he knew Kim was thinking that he would come and save her and make things right the entire time she was in captivity, and he never got over the fact that he couldn't. He said he had nothing left to live for after her passing, and Tommy himself died of lung cancer in 2005. His brother said, quote, "He died of a broken heart. The sickness was cancer, but he died of a broken heart." And that is the story of the absolutely devastating and completely horrifying murder of Kimberly Antonakos.
Jesus Christ, man. What are you doing to these people?
Taking them to the dark place.
Yes.
So sick to my stomach. I hate ransom stuff, and the fact that she could have still been alive if just had like sent a backup letter or something.
Seriously. Anything.
Anything.
Anything at all. Didn't hear from him, so
tied it to a carrier pigeon. Yeah, we just got to get rid of her. But that's it's like Alpha Dog. Did you ever watch that movie Alpha Dog?
No, I don't think so.
I had to. That's one of the only movies that I've ever had to like pause and take a break. It's really good.
Have I seen it?
It's Justin Timberlake and Emile Hirsch or somebody.
No.
But it's about these kids. It's just so similar. These kids that kidnap this little kid. I don't remember why. I'm assuming for money or whatever. Revenge. I think they kidnap the kid just to like get revenge on their enemy, but they're just supposed to like freak him out and bum him out. I'm pretty sure is the plot. But anyway, doesn't go well, and it's so devastating.
God.
Ugh, and it just doesn't. They just don't think it through.
No. Well, no. I don't understand why. I want to know how many times, like you were saying, how many times is it successful? And how many times do the people get away with it? Like how,
Right.
I don't think it's very often that you say, okay, I'm going to kidnap this person and then I'm going to get money and then I'm going to leave and nobody's going to know.
And it's all going to go great. It's all going to smooth as fucking silk.
Right. Police won't be involved. It'll be fine. And I'll just get $75,000. And then what was he going to do how was he going to
cover up the fact that he just bought an Infinity?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Just their brains are not developed. He's not thinking.
Just like robbing a bank. Like,
yes.
People still rob banks. I can think of a billion other ways to get a bunch of money that don't include robbing banks or kidnapping people for ransom. I don't know what they are, but give me some time. I'll think of them.
Oh my God. That reminds me of I think it was a podcast. This is actually happening, I think.
Oh God.
And it's been too long now. I can't remember all the details, but this guy had something happened, like depression or I don't know, some medical condition, and was suffering depression. And the doctor gave them medicine that could cause him to have like zero impulse control.
Oh no.
Or something. And they didn't like he knew he was losing his impulse control and starting to do really risky things, and went to the doctor and was like, something isn't right, and they didn't fix it. And so then it got worse and worse and worse, to the point where he just started robbing banks like crazy.
No.
Just on this spree of bank robberies. And I think somebody died or something terrible happened. I don't remember all the details, but it's a crazy fucked up story. Like,
What the fuck?
he was just like, why not? And I mean, you know, he was totally not in the world of consequence.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, that's the whole thing with this case. Is
Right,
That
so that's
these
what I
kids,
mean.
Yeah, absolutely no impulse control. Just
And I
like,
think
yeah, it'll
that-
be great.
Teenagers, early 20s, you just don't, you know, it's scientifically proven that your brain, you haven't fully matured.
Precisely.
All of that.
Bingo.
Not that this is an excuse, but that, I mean, I think it is definitely what happens. People are just like, fuck it, I don't know. They do it in the movies. Works
Yeah.
out okay. Let's
Exactly
try
right.
it. And just
Yeah.
not, you know, she's not a real person who's really going to be suffering and dying. Or
Right.
if she is, I don't care. Because the
Right.
world revolves around them. Ugh.
Yes.
I don't like it.
What is the part of the brain that's not developed by then?
I think like the frontal cortex.
Medulla. Molecular.
Yes. Yeah. Somebody tell us.
Bigly.
The bigly part of your brain.
Yeah, I don't like it. That's
No,
Did I
that
ever tell
poor
you the
dad.
story? Yes, Moby in the salon.
Yes.
Moby who hosted the salon.
Yes,
and the guy
he did.
told the story about the 15-year-old kid who invented airborne cancer. I don't know which episode it is. You guys, if you're new, I talk about it. But basically, they were telling Moby, the electronic musician, and some pals were talking about the scariest thing that they had ever heard, or like the scariest thing in the world for them. And one guy was like, "It's teenage boys. They are
Yes.
the scariest thing. They are going to be the worst thing that happens to this earth because exactly that they don't have fully formed brains and
Don't
their
understand
lack of impulse
consequences.
control. Yeah, and then if you have an above average IQ, mush those two things together, and shit can get real fucked up real fast. So.
Yep.
Good night, everyone.
Okay,
Have a good time out
goodbye.
there.
See you.
Hopefully, you don't ever see teenage boys in your life ever.
Yeah.
If you do, hit the fucking deck.
Yes.
Just
Right.
start ducking. No!
Sorry, I'm gonna break it to my children when they get home later that I just have to lock them away until they turn 40.
Time to go into
For the good for everyone.
Yeah, time to go into mommy's box.
Yep.
Get
Bye
in
bye.
there. It's for your safety. For the
Because you know
safety of
what's
others.
better is a neglected, abused
Total isolation.
child that's been locked in a box until they
Sadie.
turn 40.
Not my problem. That is not my problem. If everybody does it, then they'll all be the same kind of weird when they come out.
Oh, true.
know what I
We could
mean?
just really change the world for the better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like everybody eats sugar and watches too much TV. We're all fine.
Yeah.
So
It's
same
fine.
thing. Exact
Lock
same
them in a
thing.
box. Speaking,
What is it called when they I can't remember. There's a psychological term for when you're like, well, it happened to me and I'm fine.
Oh, yeah.
Just don't do that anymore,
Yeah.
everyone.
What is that
and if,
called?
if people do that to you, say that to you, just kindly, gently point out that they're not at fucking fine, not even a little bit.
Not even.
I
for a
can't remember what
second.
it's called, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we got the shit beaten out of us when we were kids and we're fine. No. As you're holding like a Mike's Hard Lemonade and smoking 25 cigs and
Yeah. Full
hate
of
black people.
anxiety and yes.
I think you got a few things you still need to work out, Bob.
Yeah.
Thank you for the advice.
Yes. Cannot name an emotion that you've ever felt in your life because you're so disconnected.
Other than four-wheeling. How do you feel right now? ATV. That's not an emotion, Bob.
Oh, God. Toast ATV.
Muddin. No, still not an emotion. Just that's what you do with your ATV. It's
Yeah.
not a human emotion.
Oh, Lord. Speaking of human emotions, I finally watched the Bo Burnham special.
Oh my God. Welcome to the club. What did you think?
Pretty much like wrecked my life pretty hard, man.
Yeah.
I was thinking a lot about if you have like deep depression or I don't know, it made me feel like the world was going to end. Like,
it's very effective. Yeah.
Yeah. Be gentle. If you're not in a good mental space,
Yeah.
depression or any of that, like darkness, just don't go there yet. Like, make sure you're in a good place. That's all I could think about the whole time I was watching it. I get his point was very effective. I thought it was incredibly well done.
Yep.
It was very dark. And
Yeah.
we turned it off, and Ryan looked at me and he was like, I don't think Bo's okay. And I was like, no, definitely not okay.
Well, I will say that Bo's absolutely fucking fine because that piece of art put him on the map so hard.
Yeah.
And yes, I agree. It's but the effectiveness of the darkness is so impressive.
Yes.
You know,
Yep.
it's and it's such a complicated thing to appreciate that special because it's a white guy who's made really inappropriate content his entire life. So
Yeah.
has a lot of like apologizing to do, acknowledging that, and then also just unraveling all of the things that we're all thinking about and talking about and doing and engaging with all the fucking time in such a brilliant way.
Yeah. Well, the sock puppet, I don't want to like spoil alert, just skip ahead if you haven't watched it, but the sock puppet,
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I don't, you know, it really made me feel shit. That's all.
Yeah.
Like, I can't say that I enjoyed it but I did. I mean, I really
Yes.
appreciated it. I understood
Yep.
what was happening, and it made me feel very uncomfortable. And I think that that's like the best you can hope for, you know, when you're doing what he was doing. He did it. I got it. And,
Yeah.
And then wanted to just like sat in my little house and was like, cool. Okay, well. So now I'm like,
Should we put on Sisterhood of the Trambling Pants after this,
Seriously.
just to cleanse our palates?
Like, what's the world worth fighting for? I just
Well, yeah, it's really a remarkable thing, and it's remarkable to me that, you know, this darkest, worst time, in a time where he was supposed to go back out into the world, he got shoved in the house to make probably the best thing he's ever going to make in his
Seriously.
career, in his entire life, you know?
And I did wonder a lot while I was watching it, like, did he know when that was happening that this was going to be a piece of art? Like,
I don't think
you
so,
know?
because the arc of it is so interesting too, because it starts off and you're like, okay, clever, ha ha ha, white girl Instagram, and then it just takes a fucking turn. You know, like, I was not expecting it, and it was even more effective for me because he fucking bared his soul.
Yeah, he really
The production is incredible. It's definitely something worth watching, and I don't think that everybody has to like it or agree with it or celebrate it, because I don't entirely either, but at the same time I do, which is the whole point of the entire special.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep, totally.
And I can't stop listening to the soundtrack, and neither can Laura.
Yeah, neither can Ryan. I'm not ready to go there yet, but
We watched it twice because it's so much to take in, but
I couldn't. I think that I've just been, I mean, we all know I've been struggling, right?
yeah.
And like really working my way out of depression and dealing with my anxiety. And it just really kind of took me
I don't
into a
blame
very
you.
big place where I couldn't. So that's what I mean. Like, if you're dealing with shit in your brain and you're struggling, put it aside. Go visit it later if you want. But I just think if I had even worse depression or worse, like, it would just pull me in really scary places. So
That's totally fair.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just be careful. But
Yeah.
I also, that's how my anxiety works, though, is once I feel a little bit worried or scared, or I have to like face those big things that he was kind of presenting.
Yeah.
That I'm just like, everything's doomed and we're all ruined and nothing's good. And
Totally.
yeah.
Well, isn't that interesting? Because I'm kind of the opposite. Like, I'm definitely I listen to sad songs when I'm sad to feel better kind of a person.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the commiserating that I like. Like, I like to feel heard. And so if an artist presents something that I relate to that heavily, I'm like, oh my God, this is beautiful. I feel so much better.
Yeah.
So if you're that kind of person, dive right in. If you're
Yeah.
Sadie's kind of depressed, which I think is most kind of depressed, don't do it.
Yeah.
Watch like Doghouse UK.
Oh
HBO
God,
Max.
please watch Doghouse UK.
Have we talked about Doghouse UK?
Maybe
on
the
here?
first season. I don't know, but second
Just
season's
do it,
out.
you
It's on
guys.
HBO Max. It's a dog. What is it called? Kennel
Rescue.
rescue.
Dog rescue.
Yeah, and they adopt dogs to people, and you cry.
It's so
so good.
good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yep. And then I just sit there and I really do like sob. We just don't deserve dogs. And I take my 2 doodles and like, yeah, just
Yeah.
cry on them.
Fully fucking manhandle both of my pups the whole time I'm watching it.
Yep. So
Any other things? Any other recommendations? I felt like there's something that I watched recently. It was like the people need to know this. The Dark and the Wicked. I think I've mentioned that before as a horror movie reco, but holy God, I rewatched that recently. That thing got slid right under the damn rug. I mean, I think people are aware of it, but it should have been more celebrated than stupid Hereditary or a lot of other things that have gotten a lot more attention. It is a perfect horror movie. Watch it with your face as soon as you can.
need to remember. You should text me so I can
Well,
remember.
it's so scary and so mean. It's a mean old horror movie because it's so scary. So be
Yeah.
prepared to be really fucking scared.
Okay. I don't know if I'm prepared.
Yeah. Why don't you watch a Bo Burnham, Dark and the Wicked double feature?
Yes, I can do it.
Stack them up. You could watch Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar. That is not scary or mean. It's hilarious. That is a really good one for anybody suffering from depression or anxiety right now.
Great. I'll
It's
do
so
that.
funny. It's so good.
Names?
I got a couple. Yes, my people have
Yes.
delivered. Okay, we have Harrison Scott Ball. I love a hairy ball.
Who doesn't
I feel
love
like
a
we-
hairy ball?
I feel like we've gotten a couple of little hairy balls
Never
recently.
stop. They're my favorite kind of balls.
Jerry Wayne Nipper. I want the last name Nipper.
Nipper.
I should have named Laserbeam Nipper.
Seriously.
Eyelid Nipper. Oh, you're here to pick up eyelid nipper? Well, that doesn't. Why would they name him that? Oh, because he's going to nip your eyelid and you're going to go to the fucking ER because of it and have a permanent scar on it.
Right.
Daryl Butt. It came from one of our besties, Cassie. Thank you, Cassie. Paisley Colors.
Oh.
Na, 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 na. That's my Beatles impersonation. And like, Paisley Colors is dancing in the sky with the diamonds. Andrew McAndrews. It's like Bodie McBoatface. Does everyone know about Bodie McBoatface?
I'm sure
I
they
feel
do.
like that's the most known American story, but just in case you don't, there was a ship that needed a name. It needed to be christened something, and people were allowed to nominate names for the boat, and they voted on it, and Bodie McBoatface won. And so there is a ship out there named Bodie McBoatface. Andrew McAndrews also probably crowdsourced his name.
Yes. Well, I think if you have a last name that could also be a first name, you have to do both. I love that.
That's a
Michael. Or
Michael. I know Courtney is also a surname, so Courtney.
Courtney. Yep.
There's
Courtney
Courtney Taylor.
Would be even better.
Courtney Taylor, which is
Yes.
the lead singer of the Dandy Warhols. He should have just gone Courtney. Or Taylor. Weldon Rump Roast the Third.
Weldon.
Weldon
The rump roast.
Rump Roast the Third.
That's not real.
That comes from a listener's parent. So parents don't lie to kids ever.
Never. Illegal.
That same listener went to school with someone named Unique and confirmed that her parents named her that so that when she said who she was, it would sound like I'm unique.
Oh,
which, fuck yeah.
that's
Just
adorable.
set the kid up for Perfection.
Seriously.
Kurt Magnum.
Yes.
Sunny Six Killer. Yeah, that's my name. That is the one I'm going to adopt.
Sunny Six Killer.
Sunny Six Killer.
Yes.
And Savage Wolf was a hyphenated last name. Savage married a wolf, and they hyphenated Savage Wolf.
Yes.
Oh. Thank you, guys.
That's amazing.
That rules.
You are all savage wolves out there.
Yep. Savage wolves, savage babes, savage geniuses, savage
Patrons.
Who are they? Lay them on me. Who do we have this week?
Got a couple. Got a good number. You too can join us. Don't forget.
You can.
I'm letting you
It's
think about it
perfectly
for a minute.
legal in the United States of America.
Or
to
all over
sign
the
up.
world. Maybe not all over the world. I don't know. All of the
We're
Patreon
probably
rules.
illegal in Cuba and probably
China.
I
Maybe.
almost said the USSR. God.
We gotta go. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much to Bailey W.
Bailey.
It's so cute.
It's so cute. And also, what does Bailey like to do with her spare time? Things that are soft, the things that smell and feel like they came fresh out of the dryer.
Yes.
Things that are thoughtful and like delicately handmade,
Yep.
crafted.
Yep. You know that
kind of
Bailey can
person-
shotgun a beer too.
But before she shotguns a beer, you go to her house and you're so excited when you go to her house because you can go hungry because she knows she's going to have like a really good spread of food and drink.
Yes, and then shotgun beers.
Like, well, and be like, I've been making mezcal lemonades with fresh strawberry this summer. Does that sound good to you guys? And you're
Yes,
like, oh my
man.
God. I didn't know I wanted that until I got here, and that's exactly what I want. And then
want
it's
it.
not just like a standard charcuterie; it's like clever, like thoughtful charcuterie.
God, I want to go to Bailey's house.
Everybody does.
You know
It's
who else?
limited space there though, because she's got it so full of art.
I also want to hang out with Allie E.
Allie. Allie.
Yeah.
Try to stop. Try to stop,
No.
you guys. Everybody do it
Allie.
right now. Wherever
Allie.
you are, stop what you're doing. Allie. You can't. It feels too good, just like Allie feels too good.
Hey, Allie E.
Told you.
Does sound good. Oh,
It feels
yeah,
good.
I like it.
You can kind of just let your jaw sort of, Allie.
Good God.
Just get real loose.
Yeah.
I feel like if you have some sort of like TMJ or something, you can just say Allie over and over and you'll be cured.
It's totally like a vocal lesson.
Exactly.
Project.
Lemon,
No.
yellow, lemon, yellow, Allie.
Oh, thank you so much to Chad C.
Chad?
Chad.
Probably a gentleman caller?
Probably. Maybe. Yeah. Chad C. Chad
I feel
C.
like I should learn how to play guitar so I could do a like super guitar solo whenever we get a male patron supporter. You know what I mean? Because that is rare, and you are so
Yes.
welcome here.
Yes.
And fuck yeah, Chad C.
Yes. I think I just had a stroke.
I'm gonna make you start doing the shout yabbies.
No.
I
God,
want to
no.
hear what comes out of that beautiful little mouth.
Oh, God, no. No. Nobody wants that.
Chad.
Yeah, I like Chads. They're good.
Nailed it.
Oh, thank you so much to EDW.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
My favorite dog, my soulmate, my angel, baby, sweetie, princess. Her name is Edie, my pug. I will never, my wife, one, Edie, two. That
Yeah.
is the order in which I love. And It's such a cute name. It's so versatile because we named her simultaneously after Big Edie, Little Edie, Edie Sedgwick, and all the Edies.
Yes. Mostly this patron that you
Yeah.
didn't know yet.
Because if you're an Edie, you are definitely a fucking trendsetter and an influencer, kooky in a great way, everything.
Yes.
The best name. Congratulations.
Yep. They win. And last but not least, I would really like to thank Bex.
Bex, who they said recently, they are the ones who just gave us all, like, the majority of those amazing names. They sat in our Twitter inbox for a very long time. So sorry about that, Bex.
So sorry.
Bex wanted us to I don't know if they wanted us to tell this story, but they were a Rebecca and shortened to Bex, and then later learned that Beck is a shortened version of Rebecca, and was frustrated that they hadn't chose Beck. They chose Bex. I think both Beck and Bex are incredibly
I don't think you can go
solid
wrong. Yes.
shortenings of the name Rebecca. But we did want to put that out there. If anybody has the name Rebecca,
Don't
is
want
looking
it.
to shorten it, Beck is also an option.
So
Now we have
cool.
2 Becks.
I'm ready. I'm really ready to change my name to Bex or Beck. I think they're both.
I think Becks.
hot.
You can have Beck, and I'll take Becks.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yeah,
like
I'm ready.
saying X at the end.
And Beck is almost like Eck, and I'm used to that, so
Oh,
it'll be
you would
good
be
for my
Beck-eck.
memory.
It would be
Oh
Beck-eck.
God, it's over. It's done. I have arrived, you guys.
Beckick.
God.
And I would just be Becksack.
Yes. And I was appreciating Bex's ability to get our attention to check our inbox. And I realized that there is a separate inbox that I didn't know about
Of course there
that I
is.
found. So if we aren't responding to you, find us all the other ways. We want to respond to you.
Yeah. Do you want to hear what ways you
Yeah,
can
tell
find
us.
us?
Tell them.
Guys, you can go to Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter at They Will Kill.
I will say
I
that Instagram is our number. I think that's where we get to people quickest.
100%. 100%.
Yeah,
I'm on
it's
Instagram
easy.
all day. I love it.
Yep.
If I figure out, I'm also on TikTok a lot. I don't do anything over there, but
Yeah, I watch stuff, but I'm not.
yeah, we don't have
no.
an account over there, but I do love it. I stand TikTok.
Yes.
Is that how you say it, guys?
I don't know.
Fellow kids.
Yeet.
Did you say yeet?
Yes.
Did you dab while you did it?
Yeah. Yeah. That's my oldest child is real into saying yeet right now. And
Oh no!
yeah, he's almost 7, right? So
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
on the monkey bars, and he's not a small child. Somehow some kids are like real easy. They just go along on the monkey bars real
Yeah.
easy. He's not one of those kids. But he was watching these other boys do that. And he was like, I'm going to do that too. And I was watching him do this. And
Yeah.
he threw his body as hard as he could to get, he thought like,
The
if he just-
momentum. Oh my god, yes.
but instead, he lost his
Physics.
grip and then went flying. Poor kid. He landed on his back. He knocked the wind out of himself.
Buddy.
He was pretty upset. And then once I made sure his back wasn't broken, he calmed down. And then he was like, Mom, I just yeeted myself right off those monkey bars. And I was like, that is very accurate. Yes. Yes, you did. You yeeted yourself
A full
right.
yeet.
Yes.
I would say full yeet.
He's like, I don't want to do that again. I was like, no, you shouldn't do that again. Anyway.
Oh my god. He also says, is it bro or bruh? Bro?
Bro.
Bro. This is so cute.
Yeah.
Especially calling his aunt bro. I support it.
Totally.
Bro.
Anyway.
You're 6, bro.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead. Instagram.
Yeah, go to Twitter, go to Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter at They Will Kill. You can email us at theywillkillpodcast@gmail.com, and you can go to our website, theywillkill.com.
Rate, review, subscribe, please.
Yeah, babies. Hella yes.
Hella yes. Thank you, A.G. Bergantz, for our music.
Thank you so much.
And remember,
So, I keep forgetting this, but one of our dear friends, previous roommates, Angela, sent me a screen cap of her top Spotify apps, like things that she listens to. And it was sleep app. They will kill. And I was like, I'm going to start saying goodnight to you.
Aww.
Because she says she falls asleep to her sleep apps and then constantly wakes up in the middle of the night to us talking about brutal murder. So,
oh no.
Good night, Angela. Sleep tight.
Make sure your doors are locked.
Blood. I can smell your blood. Oh my God. Which reminds me I managed the corporate office for this big chain of salons and spas in Portland. Dosha Salon Spa, if anybody's familiar, PDX listeners. And I was in charge of the call room, and we got this new phone system and realized that I could cut into their calls and like coach them, like I could listen in and coach them, but they didn't know I could. And I so desperately wanted to just cut in and say, I can smell your blood.
You should have.
Serious regret that I never traumatized any of my call center employees by whispering that I could smell their blood. But, good night, Angela. You're safe. Nothing's wrong. Nothing's bad.
Have sweet dreams, and you'll wake up refreshed in the morning.
Or will you? Tap, 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 tap. We love you guys.
Love you so much.
See you soon.
See you later.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.